Okay, thank you. Thank you all of you for joining with me. Thank you for being here despite of this pandemic situation of COVID. And thank you, Robin Bandari sir, for initiating such a
Sound
wonderful
चाहिँ
program.
नआएको
I request all of you, please
टेक्नोलोजी
mute Dharmaraj. I request all of you, please mute your microphone. Thank you, Robin sir, for initiating such a nice program. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you, Basanta Rukaya, Analog
साउन्ड आइरहेको छैन
IT
सर किन
Institute. Everyone hearing? के छ ठीक छ मेरो सुन्ने छैन र
सुन्ने छ सर
सुन्ने छ होला
सुन्ने छ सर
पर्सनल प्रब्लम होला है सो
सुन्ने
सुन्नेन भने चाहिँ त्यो च्याटमा अथवा मेसेजमा उ गर्दियौ अहिले सायद ठिकै छ होला एनीवे talk in brief about scholarship opportunities abroad after B.Pharm, Bachelor of Pharmaceutical. म पनि म्युट भएकोले उले ओके म्युटेड ओके
छैन सर छैन तपाईं हजुर म्युट हुनुहुन्न
okay so after doing Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Sciences so हामी सबैलाई चाहिँ म नेपाली र इंग्लिश दुईटै युज गर्छु है हामी सबैलाई चाहिँ इच्छा चाहना हुन्छ हैन अहिलेसम्म पढियो अब B.Pharm गरिसकेपछि फर्दर स्टडी गर्ने डेभलप कन्ट्रीजहरुमा कोर्सहरु एक्सप्लोर गर्ने अब त्यसको लागि चाहिँ कसरी अगाडि बढ्ने कसरी सर्च गर्ने भन्ने कुराहरुको बारेमा चाहिँ I will talk about this so before going to the actual topic I would like to say something about my career pathway. So I did my Bachelor in Pharmaceutical Sciences from Pokhara University, 2010, graduated in 2010. So these are the few achievements. So हाम्रो ब्रोसरमा पनि थियो होला है त्यसपछि 2011 मा मैले प्रोडक्सन फार्मासिस्ट भएर एनपीएल मा काम गरे फर द सर्ट term त्यसपछि I jumped into academics I joined Crimson College of Technology in 2011 and served as an assistant lecturer and laboratory in charge in my initial days त्यसपछि चाहिँ म 2013 मा मास्टर्स इन फार्मेसी गर्नको लागि साउथ कोरिया गए हङकङ युनिभर्सिटी with scholarships I did my masters there and achieved few things like getting young investigator award excellent researcher award and few publications and त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ मेरो बल्ल एक्चुअल रिसर्च करियर चाहिँ स्टार्ट भएको हो त्यसपछि मास्टर्स गरिसकेपछि again I returned to Nepal and I joined CCT College as a lecturer and worked as a research coordinator for a few years and side by side I was a visiting faculty in UCMS Iowa and after teaching 4 successive years and I got the MGS scholarship to pursue PhD in Monash University, Melbourne, and currently I am a PhD candidate here. So before going to that B.Pharm सकिसक्नु भन्दा पनि अब B.Pharm एउटा एट अ ग्लान्स अन्डरग्रेजुएट डिग्री चाहिँ के हो भनेर म भन्छु हैन यो स्पेशली जेनरल हो यो सबैलाई स्पेसिफिक नहुन सक्छ सो B.Pharm फर्स्ट इयर अब आउँछौं है नयाँ परिवेश नयाँ वेलकम हैन न्यू इन्भाइरोमेन्ट न्यू सर्कल न्यू साथीभाइहरु अलिकति सुपरियर इगो पनि हुन्छ किन भन्दा हैन मेडिकल फिल्डमा आएको हामी मेडिकल फिल्ड भन्ने हुन्छ अनि त्यो माथि सँगसँगै ब्यालेन्स गरेर जानु पर्यो सिनियर्सलाई रेस्पेक्ट गर्नु पर्यो अब कहिल्यै हुन्छ र्यागिङ्सहरु पनि हुन्छ त्यो कोप गर्नु पर्यो अनि कुनै कुनै फ्यामिलियर सब्जेक्ट्सहरु छ केमिस्ट्री लाइक म्याथ्स केमिस्ट्री कम्प्युटर अनि न्यू सब्जेक्ट्स आर अल्सो देयर लाइक फार्मेसी सो यस्तो गर्दा गर्दै फर्स्ट इयर सकिन्छ सेकेन्ड इयरमा अब फर्स्ट इयरलाई वेलकम गर्ने चलन हैन जुनियर्सहरु अब जुनियर्सहरु फर्स्ट इयरलाई जुनियर ग्रुपमा हेरिन्छ अलिकति सब्जेक्ट म्याटर्सहरुमा कम्प्लेक्सिटी हुँदै जान्छ र बिस्तारै सेमेस्टर सिस्टम र ग्रेडिङ सिस्टमहरुको बारेमा बल्ल अलिअलि बुझिन्छ त्यसपछि अनि त्यति गर्दा गर्दै थर्ड इयरमा हुन्छ अलिकति मोर कम्प्लेक्स हुँदै जान्छ हैन अनि त्यसपछि साइड बाइ साइड एसोसिएसन्सहरु भयो स्पोर्ट्स एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिभिटिज त्यसपछि हाम्रो कोर सब्जेक्टहरू अलिअलि सुरु हुन्छ र बिस्तारै यो प्रोफेसन फार्मेसी भनेको के हो, प्रोफेसन भनेको के हो, त्यहाँनिर यसो बुझ्दै गर्दाखेरि थर्ड इयर पनि सकिन्छ र फाइनल इयर त एकदमै सर्ट टाइममा धेरै कोर्समा पढ्नुपर्ने है, प्रपोजल डिफेन्स लाइक and also other extracurricular activities like sports, tours, internship. Another major thing is that thesis, defense prepare. यति गर्दा गर्दै हाम्रो बिफार्म चाहिँ एकदमै 4 वर्ष एकदमै छिटो सकियो जस्तो लाग्छ। त्यसपछि के गर्नु, त्यसपछि बल्ल हामी करियर प्लानिङ तिर जान्छौँ, लाइक टु थिङ्क अबाउट आवर करियर। अब त्यसपछि के गर्ने, बट स्टिल इट्स अ स्टार्टिङ अफ प्रोफेसनल लाइफ। म चाहिँ प्रोफेसनल लाइफको स्टार्ट हो भन्छु है त्यसपछि, बिकज देयर इज अ भेरी लङ वे टु गो। बिकज एट द्याट टाइम त्यति बेलासम्म यु आर इन द कम्फर्ट जोनमा हो त्यति बेलासम्म आफ्नो प्रोफेसन। र मानिसहरू अब जो पनि स्टुडेन्टहरू ग्रेजुएटेड बी फार्म, कोही दे माइट वान स्टे इन देयर कम्फर्ट जोन, लाइक कम्फर्ट जोनमा फिलिङ अफ एउटा सेफ्टी फिलिङ होइन, अनि रिस्क लिन नचाहने, च्यालेन्जेसहरू एक्सेप्ट गर्न नचाहने हुन्छ। अब त्यो चाहिँ इट इज कन्फाइन्ड इन द्याट कम्फर्ट जोन। अलिकति माथि फियर जोन हुन्छ, द्याट इज द ट्रान्जिसन इन बिट्विन द कम्फर्ट जोन लाइक बी फार्म एन्ड एम फार्म, जसमा चाहिँ at that time that person will be affected by other person's opinions, and he or she can find excuses, and likewise there will be the lack of confidence there. Hi Dharmaraj, can you please mute the microphone? Okay, thank you. And after that, if you're zone alikati mathi aisikeपछि that is the learning zone. That is in fact the higher studies like masters and other higher studies. And learning zone ma चाहिँ individual they acquire new skills and tries to enjoy that zone. अब comfort zone मात्रै मेरो हैन है, यो भन्दा माथि पनि धेरै रहेछ भन्नुहुन्छ। अनि त्यो भन्दा माथि चाहिँ growth zone, that is the career after higher studies like positions in different companies, academics, etc. And in that growth zone, the people actually live in the conquer the objectives and also find the purposes. So this is and for the हाम्रो कुनै पनि प्रोफेसनल लाइफ अथवा चाहिँ फुल लाइफलाई एक्सप्लोर गर्नको लागि कम्फर्ट जोनबाट चाहिँ बाहिर निस्किनै पर्छ भनेर भनिन्छ है। सो अब हाम्रो कोर्स वर्कतिर फोकस गरौँ। इमेजिन दैट दिस इज अ सर्कल अफ अल ह्युमन नलेज, र दिस इज द एलिमेन्ट्री एजुकेसन विच लाइज इन द सेन्टर। अलिकति सेन्टरमा एलिमेन्ट्री एजुकेसन जो सबै प्रायले चाहिँ गर्छ। दिस इज हाई स्कुल एजुकेसन, अलिकति त्योभन्दा बाहिर ब्याचलर्स डिग्री जुन हामी छौँ त्यो गर्ने यो अवस्थामा छौँ है। यो सबै ब्याचलर्स डिग्रीसम्म सबै कुराहरू चाहिँ नर्मलै जस्तो लाग्छ र नर्मलै हो। अनि अब अलिकति ब्याचलर्स डिग्रीबाट स्पेसिफिक हुँदै प्रोट्रुड हुँदै चाहिँ हामी मास्टर्स डिग्रीमा जान्छौँ। मास्टर्स डिग्री अलि स्किल्स एक्सपिरियन्स नलेजहरू अलिक गेन गर्दै गएपछि अनि त्यसपछि द पेनिट्रेसन विल गो अन एन्ड there will be the small dent in the circle, human knowledge circle. That dent is called actually the PhD or higher degree, highest qualification of academics. But at this stage, the world look different to you. But don't forget the bigger picture that you can see there in the circle. Alikati sano चाहिँ protrusion छ. That is something extra of the human knowledge. That is the PhD graduate. That is how you कसरी हुन्छ त भन्दा we need to get out of the comfort zone. कसरी अब कम्फर्ट जोनबाट आउने त, बाहिर निस्किने त। सो वाट आर द करियर पाथवेज आफ्टर बिफार्म, बिफार्म पछिको करियर पाथवेजहरू के हो त। सो या अल्दो बिफार्म ब्याचलर फार्मेसी डिग्री अब गरिसकेपछि कतिले लाग्छ होला म रजिस्टर फार्मासिस्ट भएँ होइन, अब मैले बिजनेस स्टार्ट गर्छु अथवा जब एउटा सिक्योर जब गरेर बस्छु। बट आई से द्याट इज नट द एन्ड अफ यर करियर, द्याट इज जस्ट द स्टार्टिङ अफ यर करियर। करियरको बल्ल स्टार्ट हो भनेर भन्छु हो। बिफार्म डिग्री चाहिँ एउटा स्टेबल जब खाएर बस्नु गरिसकेपछि आफ्नो लाइफलाई स्टेबल गर्नको लागि जब गरेर बस्नको लागि चाहिँ इनफ हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई। बट the another thing is that if you want to pursue higher and you want to get higher education, you want to get more rewards, and त्यसपछि अब वर्ल्डको यो कम्पिटिटिभ ग्लोबल सिनारियोमा एउटा आफ्नो कन्ट्रिब्युसन गर्ने अथवा चाहिँ एउटा वालमा आफूले एउटा इटा थप्ने होइन, त्योभन्दा मोर रिवार्डिङ त के नै हुन्छ र। So this is about the higher education. If you go to the higher education, time अनुसार चाहिँ सुरुमा your expectations will एकदम high, that is the honeymoon phase. Then your expectations will go down and the progress will increase, and you will reach in that point that you will do the maximum progress, but you can see like you are not matching with your expectations. आफूले meet गरे छैन जस्तो लाग्छ. त्यसपछि once it has been realized, then the slope of enlightenment increases and the plateau of productivity rises, and it happens, and you will get more progress. So that's why it is very important to find a career direction after your BPharm. So first of all, in order to find the career direction, you need proper career counseling. You need to think yourself. You need to make decisions. You need to seek advice from others. So this is a career direction circle, that how you can pursue to the higher education. So you can go in more individual सबै point मा जादिन हैन, but the main thing is that you need to explore yourself. You need to understand yourself, make decision and plan for that action. And after यति गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ definitely you will
इन्डियाको स्टुडेन्ट पनि भएको हुनाले सबै इङ्ग्लिस पनि गर्ने नेपाली पनि
okay
इन्डियाको
okay okay sorry for that. So the main important thing is that you need to understand yourself, explore the opportunities. You need to seek advice. You need to make decisions. You need to plan for the actions, and obviously after that you will achieve your goal. So the main defining conclave after BPharm is that once you graduate from the BPharm degree, then your way will be defined. That is, either you will go to the professional career, securing stable job and maintaining your life in the normal way, that is being in the comfort zone, or aiming for the higher studies and exploring further. So that is the main defining concept. But still there are many various factors that decide which way to choose. Like job after graduation, some may find that the job is very interesting and match to the particular individuals, and some may find that because they will not make the job will not meet the expectations of that individuals, like dissatisfaction from salary, from job. And that is what the expectations versus reality is. That is, you need to expect uh, what it is and what is your potency according to your potency. And at that time, you need to the motivation and role model from the other individual. You need to think about that. You need to make someone as a role model and aim for that higher positions. And the decision is conditional. That is, ultimately you need to make your own decision that might be affected by different suggestions and advice from other individuals. That is the defining conflict. So now I will move towards the higher studies. That is the specific path. And studying abroad, it is both opportunities and challenges. Everyone aims to study abroad because the different advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad. Like you can see the pros, like independency. You will be more independent of yourself. We know that there are better learning opportunities in abroad as compared to our developing countries. You can experience a different culture. That is you will be moving to different cultural environment, and likewise your degree will be recognized globally, and you can get a chance of exploring new places, living independently, global networking, etc. But beside these advantages, there are few disadvantages as well. That is, obviously you are going to the new environment, new culture, new people. You might be the culture shock, and all these things like homesickness, patriotic feeling, and placement in home country after completing the studies, all are the challenges. And apart from these challenges, what I focus here is main the financial challenge of studying abroad. As we know that as compared to the developed countries, due to our poor currency values, and it's a very high financial burden for us to study abroad. So it is very difficult to afford. But there is a solution of that there are different scholarship opportunities. If you really want to study abroad, you need to explore these opportunities. You need to source these. There are many numerous scholarship opportunities for that. So there are a number of scholarships are being offered each year globally, and here are some of the listed scholarship. I will explain it specifically. Few of these those scholarships. It's impossible to go each and every details of each scholarship, specific scholarship, but I will try to summarize the main top scholarships that are recognized globally. And these scholarships are provided for various levels in various subjects, and you need to find it yourself which scholarship perfectly matched to you, according to your subjects, according to your potency, eligibility, etc. And these scholarships obviously they cover tuition fees, that you don't need to pay the tuition fees if you are able to achieve those scholarships. And in addition to that, you will be provided some living allowances as well as some financial stipend to support yourself while being abroad. So basically, these scholarships can be divided into two categories. The first one is government funded, that is funded by specific government of particular country, commissions or unions, etc. That we also call national scholarships, which are different according to the different countries. And the another one is university funded or research grant funded, or simply we can say the professor funded, that you will be supported by the research grant, which is provided ultimately by that country or nation. So anyway, you will get the financial benefits if you secure these scholarships. So listed here are the major scholarships. So as far as my knowledge, beside these are not only those scholarships. There are a huge amount of scholarship which are listed here, apart from the listed here scholarships. So the famous and most what to say top scholarship as far as I know is Fulbright scholarship, which is provided by United States. So it is the uh, part of the United States Cultural Exchange Program, and the main goal of this scholarship is to improve the intercultural relationships, persons' knowledge, skills, which is uh, uh, with the United States with the rest of the other world. So this program provides approximately 8,000 grants annually. So it's a huge amount of scholarship and huge valued scholarship, and with for the US scholars as well as mostly to the foreign students and other countries. And these grants are offered in almost all academic disciplines except clinical medical research involving patient contact. So I think we are eligible to get that scholarship subject wise. That is, if you go to the basic science or if you go to the pharmaceutical sciences, apart from beside the study that involve the clinical trials and clinical medical research, then you can apply for that. So it funds the graduate education for international students to study in the USA. You can study in top universities USA. You can choose the universities and you can choose the programs after standard application process, and it is provided for masters, PhD, or even postdocs for the financial support. So if we look at in context of our country, the United States Education Foundation in Nepal provides a Fulbright scholarship, and I think the scholarship is open now, and the deadline is up till 30. And there are certain criteria that needs to be addressed, and in order to check what are those criteria, you can go to this link which I am providing here. But as far as my knowledge, the general requirements are you need to get CGPA of 3.5 or in 4 grade point scale or equivalent if you have the percentage skills. Official English scores is necessary, like TOEFL or IELTS. And the other important documents are the statement of purpose and personal essays, which play a very important role in your selections of that scholarship. So the more details can be found in these links, which I have provided here. You can visit those links and you can explore it in details. So this is one of the top scholarship provided in USA. So the another scholarship which is basically focused on European countries, or Europe, is Erasmus Mundus, which is provided by the European Commission. And it is also one of the prestigious scholarship, which is an integrated international study program jointly delivered by International Consortium of Higher Education Institutions. And there are many positions, and there are many opportunities if you get these scholarships. And many Nepalese also, or South Asian individual students have successfully secured the position of these scholarships. And students from all over the world can apply for the full degree scholarships through this Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree Program that allows the students to perform their higher studies in different universities or in different European countries. So we can see there's some fact here. So this is the fact. I think it's the data of 2018. That is 1,345 scholarships awarded from 128 nationalities over 100 master's programs. There are a lot of master's programs in Erasmus Mundus, but the thing is that you need to select select the program or the topic that you are interested in. You can see here Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree Program. This is the link. You can go in here, and these are the deadlines, expected deadlines that might subjected be changed due to different situations. I went at a glance and found that for us, you can see here advanced spectroscopy in chemistry master's course. This is the related topic for us. And I don't find the other topics are related to our field in Erasmus Mundus, so we are eligible to apply here. So the details of the scholarship, the criteria, eligibility selection criteria can be found is this link. I have provided the link here. So this is about Erasmus Mundus, which is another prestigious scholarship in Europe. The next scholarship is DAD scholarship, which is I think Norway, German focused scholarship. And it is provided by the German academic is a part of German academic exchange service, and this scholarship is also the famous scholarship and highly prestigious scholarship which are awarded to the students who want to complete a full-time course of study with mandatory attendance in German. So the study will be Germany focused in different universities of Germany that are the part of that scholarship program. The applicant should have completed the bachelor's degree not more than in the last 6 years. So there should be no more than 6-year gap between the bachelor's and the time of application in that scholarship. So, and another criteria is that the applicants should have at least 2 years of work experiences of the proven work experience. And so depending on your course, degree course, there will be the English or German language requirements. So any course that is related to us, we can easily study it in English language. So if you want to study in Germany for a period of time of the 6 months, then you must have lived in your country of residence or your home country for at least 1 year at the time of application. But if you want to study in Germany for the period of time longer than 6 months, you must have obtained your last degree in the country of your residence. That means if you are going to apply for that scholarship, you should be graduated from your home country or country of residence. So these are some financial benefits. It offers up to 12 or 14 months. The scholarship offers 12 or 13 months. It depends on the study program, how long the course is. So they provide the monthly payment of 850 euros for master students and 1200 euros for PhD students. I think this amount is sufficient enough for you to accommodate you in Germany. And the tuition fee is fully free. So in addition, the scheme covers the health, accident, and personal liability insurance cover, as well as the travel allowances, unless these expenses are covered by the home country. That's why it's pretty good and pretty high value scholarship. That is scholarship. So you can find more information at these links. So there are other useful links also that has been listed in some private or some institution-based website. You can go there and find a lot of information there. So I'm moving from Europe to Asia Pacific or to Australian base. The top scholarship in Australia is Australian Award, which is also called Australian Leadership Award or Award. So they are the long-term awards provided by the Department of Australian award is provided by Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Australia. So the study and research opportunities provided by Australia awards develop the skills and knowledge of individuals to drive and contribute to development in their own countries. So you have to notice one thing is that the Australian award is focused to develop their own home countries, and they are provided to those individuals uh, who are planning or who have a strong willpower to return to their home country and to utilize that knowledge. So applicants who want to accept the Australia award need to sign a contract, and they are required to leave Australia for a minimum of 2 years after completing their scholarship. So that is the mandatory case of Australian award. So we can see the participating country from Asia. There are a lot of other countries from other part of the world as well, but what we can see here, India, Nepal has been enlisted in this Australian award, and they are eligible to apply. So the details can be found on that link. So I want to focus the Australian award to Nepal, applying for Australian award scholarship specifically. If you go to that website, so we can see here the prestigious international award offered by the Australian government and to develop their skills, as I have already told right, previously. They are assessed on their professional and personal qualities, academic competence, and most importantly, the personal potential to impact on development challenges in Nepal. So there are various criteria of selections. So their applicants are strongly encouraged from different disabilities, women, and other marginalized groups as well. So the main priority of the study for Nepal are, we can see here somehow it is related to health. I didn't find exactly the pharmacy related course in this Australia award, but if you want to change the topic and somehow relate your higher studies to public health, and you can apply this Australian awards. So these are the financial benefits. Yeah, it will cover the return year travel, 1 year establishment allowance on arrival, full tuition fees, contribution to different living expenses, which are subjected to change each year, supplementary academic support, and insurance, and all the things that is, you don't need to worry about the financial things. And you can find the eligibility criteria in this page, but however, these are the very general and basic criteria. The obviously official English score is necessary, and as well as I think you have in order to apply for this scholarship, you have to submit, or you should have at least 2 years of work experience after your bachelor's degree. The next scholarship is New Zealand focused New Zealand Development Scholarship, which is provided by the New Zealand government, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. It is also provided for undergraduate, PhD, bachelor, master's, and postgraduate studies, and including different courses and positions in different prestigious universities like Auckland, Canterbury, and etc. So the qualification types, that is uh, the master's degree for 1 to 2 years and PhD 3 to 4 years. It depends upon the type of your course and duration of your course. The financial benefits are here. It covers full tuition fees, which is necessary to for you to study in that respective university. And in addition to this, you are provided the living allowances, which is a stipend that is New Zealand $480 per week. And once you arrive New Zealand, you will get establishment allowance of $3,000. And apart from that, the insurance and medical insurance and travel insurance is also covered by this scholarship. And in addition to this, another important and exciting thing is that travel to and from your home country and home leave reunion travel is also included in this scholarship. And it also provides assistance with other research and thesis costs like publications and other stationery costs, etc. So this is also a very good choice of scholarship in New Zealand. So here is the link. You can go to these links to find the details like the opening date, closing date, what are the criteria or eligibility criteria requirements, all can be found here. So let's move towards the Asian countries like Korea. So KGSP, I think most of you have listened this scholarship. This is very famous in case of our pharmacy program. Many graduates have successfully secured this scholarship, and many of them are very highly prestigious and obtain the prestigious positions. So to provide the international students, the Republic of Korea and the Ministry of Global under the Global Korea Scholarship provides the Korean government scholarships for masters, PhD, and undergraduate courses. So around 700 persons for the graduate course. For the graduate course, around 700 persons per year I can apply and get this scholarship. And the grantees are required to take the Korean language training course for 1 year. So that is the one thing of this scholarship, is that you have to take 1 year Korean language course after you arrive in Korea. Then only you can join to the respective university and pursue your respective studies. So this is the application procedure, general application procedure. Generally it is announced in the February of the particular year, and recommended candidates are encouraged or advised to apply from different Korean embassies in respective countries, as well as from designated universities. So there are two ways of applying Korean government scholarship. One is through embassy, Korean embassy in the individual countries, and the another is that through the university. That is, the university in Korea will recommend you for that particular scholarship and eligible to apply for that scholarship. So the results are generally released in June, and generally the successful candidates will pursue or will arrive Korea in late August and start their course from the September session. So it has some financial benefits. You can see here. It covers obviously airfare to and from return from Korea, and you will be provided resettlement allowance once you arrive Korea. It's around 200,000 Korean won. That is equivalent to, I think, 20,000 Nepalese rupees around. So the living allowance is around 900,000 Korean won per month, and it covers the medical insurance, tuition fees. You don't need to worry about these things. And in addition to this, it provides the excellent Korean language proficiency award of 100,000 Korean won once. That is after you give the Korean language examination. Likewise, it supports in research by providing 240,000 per semester Korean won, and as well as it bears this scholarship program covers the printing cost as well, around 800,000 Korean won, and completion, once you completed, after completion of your studies under this scholarship, you will get around 100,000 Korean won at the end of your completion. So there is a huge amount of financial benefits, although the figure seems to be very high. So these are not obviously in dollars, not in rupees, these are in Korean wons, but however, this amount is sufficient enough for you to live, study in the respective country. So these are the basic requirements. That is, the applicants should not be the Korean citizenship, because it is focused for the abroad citizenship, abroad countries, and you can apply up to your 40 years for graduate studies. Like the age limit is under 40 years. Should hold a bachelor degree. Obviously, for the master's and PhD program, you need to hold minimum bachelor's degree, and CGPA is like not less than 2.64 in for CGPA scale and equivalent in percentage. So I think this KGSP is very flexible in the gradings and CGPAs, and this is one of the very famous and very potentially aimed scholarship in case of pharmacy to pursue MPharm in Korea. And the advantage is that if you pursue MPharm in Korea under these scholarships, then you will have the chance to continue the PhD degree either in Korea, because you will be connected with the different professional network, professors, and different courses as well. Likewise, you can apply to other countries and other scholarships for the PhD as well. So this is the link. You can go to this link for the details of these scholarships. This is about KGSP. The next scholarship is Japan-based scholarship. This is also called the National Scholarship of Japan, funded by Japanese government. This is also called Monbu Kagakuso, that is next scholarship. So this scholarship is pretty competitive, and it has a restrictions for the initial applicants, like securing at least 75% in all level of educations, and +2 bachelor's if you are applying for master's. It is provided by the Japanese Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, and approximately it invites applications from more than 160 different countries under the Japanese government scholarship program. And there are 7 different scholarship categories, and the main category, which is relevant and related to us, is the research students category. So in order to apply for that scholarship, you must be under 35 years of age and a college graduate. That is, it includes the prospective graduates or have completed 16 years of schooling. This program allows the recipients to apply for graduate degree program. That is, you can apply for masters. You can do a master's in Japan and again extend your scholarship to PhD. Or if you have done masters from other different countries, you can apply for PhD as well. And there are like KGSP, Korean Government Scholarship. There are 2 ways of applying the next scholarship as well. That is one is from embassy recommendation. That is, you submit the embassy invites the application, and you apply and you submit your documents to the embassy, and the scholarship recipients are recruited and initially screened by Japanese embassy, and which is based on the documentations. And after that, the initial screening, if you pass the initial screening, I think for us, they ask the proposal, detailed proposal or statement of purpose or research plannings. Then you have to submit them, and if you are successful, then you will get that scholarship from embassy. However, there is another way of getting this scholarship, that is the university recommendation. We can directly contact to the respective university, that is the university of our interest in Japan, and we can design the proposal projects based on that university and supervisor, and after that the university and respective supervisor will recommend to the government or for the application, recommend applicants to the government, and if the applicant is successful, then the applicants will get the next scholarship. So I have listed here some tentative schedules and times for the opening and closing of scholarship, but however this may vary on the different countries, so you can source on the websites for the specific dates. So here we can see the details of the next scholarship for postgraduate and research students. For 2020, I think this scholarship is also currently opening now for 2020. And for that, you should be under 35 years of years and completed at least 16 years of education and secured 70% of marks for natural sciences and 60% for humanities and social sciences. Oh, it's 70%. Before it was 75%. I think they have reduced this percent. So we are related to natural science. We can see here pharmacology is listed in natural science. So in order to apply for this scholarship, you have to secure at least 70% from your SLC, from +2 secondary level of education, higher secondary level of education, as well as from bachelor's. So this is the minimum criteria, and this the application form can be downloaded, and you can directly submit it to the embassy, different scholarships. And obviously, because you are studying in Japan, and you should show very high and keen interest to learn the Japanese language, and I think it is also required to study Japanese language prior starting of your course if you get this scholarship. So this is also the very good scholarship if you are planning to study in Japan, and one of the highly prestigious scholarships. Uh, and I think many many persons or many individuals are aiming for this scholarship as well. So here's the link of the mixed scholarship. You can go to this link and find in details about that. Beside these scholars, these are only few selected scholarship. Beside these scholarship, there are other huge range of scholarship. If you search and if you browse the internet, another famous scholarship is British Saving Scholarship. That is the UK government scholarships. So I think the deadline is now expired, and it is also offered for postgraduates and master's degrees, and for different from different developing countries and Commonwealth countries. And there are different huge varieties of course. You can source that particular course, and you can apply for that. You can see the university-based scholarship for masters and PhD, especially related to pharmacology, pharmacy, Chinese government scholarship for non-Chinese students in China. That was in 2018, but I think this scholarship is still there. And you can see the University of Portsmouth, which is UK-based scholarship, which is provided for different categories like pharmacology for the international students. Netherlands-based scholarship or the presidential scholarship, which are specially focused for chemical engineering and pharmacy, pharmacology, etc. So there are other huge various scholarships you can go, you can source, and but however it depends on your particular interest, which country you are you wish to pursue your high studies, what is your subject, and what is your university. And based on these, then you need to check the selection criteria, eligibility criteria, whether you are eligible to apply or not. So if you meet all these requirements criteria, then go and go for it and apply. There will be the chance of getting scholarships. So planning high studies with scholarship, there are a few points to consider. First of all, you have to research all scholarships, the types of scholarship, coursework, what are their requirements, and are you eligible to apply for that particular scholarship or not. You need to research a lot in these cases. The few scholarships that was discussed here, they are only the examples. So you need to research and dig a lot information related to those scholarships. So you need to fit yourself with the criteria, the requirements and criteria, and then you can proceed ahead. And after that, you can select the course of your interest and find whether that course is covered by the particular scholarships or not. You can select the country or region that you wish to pursue your higher studies. And the other important thing is that it is better to mark all scholarships deadlines on your calendar. That is, which scholarships opens in what particular time, so that you may not miss that particular deadlines. And after that, you can select the scholarships or university, and obviously the official language course is the mandatory thing to apply for that scholarships. GRE will be additional one if you are planning to apply for USA and for different universities. You have to build your very competent curriculum criteria, professional standard ones. So please make it very professional and standard. And you need to get letter of recommendation from your supervisors, undergraduate supervisors, or teachers, professors, and you need to write a good standard statement of purpose. Sorry, it's like a standard statement of purpose, and also called SOP, personal statement summary. And after that, you can apply, reapply, explore different scholarships, and finally, uh, there is certainly a chance if you apply. If you fit all these criteria, if you meet all these criteria, if you prepare very strong documents, very standard documents, then obviously you will get that particular schools. So these are the very critical documents to apply for a scholarship, like CV, obviously, that is the main thing that reflects you, all your academic achievements, your experiences, qualifications. Besides this CV, you need to write a good statement of purpose, personal essay, and cover letter. So I think all of you, if you are planning to apply for a scholarship, then you have to write these documents in a very standard way. Writing is not easy. I understand that because we know that our official language is not English, and even we think that we can communicate very well, excellent in English, but writing is very critical thing. It's a difficult process that everyone finds challenging. Even the experts from and the developed countries, they find writing very difficult. That is technical writing. The challenge is to find the best way to say what you want to say in your own way. That is, you need to explain each and everything in a very clear way, focusing that is focused on based on the readers. And in that way, when preparing these documents, so obviously the writing skill is very important thing. You need to be honest and be yourself. And besides excellent content, the writing should be very well structured, obviously grammatically effectively formatted, clearly written, and using very simple words. It's not a very good practice to use very complex words, because ultimately uh, you want to make your reader to understand what you are going to say. In addition to content, is pay close attention to structure, format, and as well as writing. So there are some common problems with writings, like exaggeration, exaggerating all the things, wordiness, too many unnecessary words, explaining all the unnecessary things, elaborating and elongating things, making claims without proof or explanations, like um, in providing faulty informations, for example, uh, like 4 years of work experiences in that particular hospital, in that industry, without having certificate of that, experience letter of that. Not enough depth, not enough details of the particular subject matter. And another problem is repetition and redundancy of the subject matter in writing. And these are the other problems that we commonly focus on our technical writing. So I think these things need to be addressed. There are a few tips, although I'm not an expert writer also, but from my knowledge, so these are a few tips when you uh, start writing or preparing your SOP, personal explanation letter, to prepare the document for scholarships. First of all, you have to brainstorm your ideas. Like, think about the very unique experiences. Think about the very catchy things, like light bulb moments. Like, if people start writing, then if something, if they find something very interesting and very catchy, then you will be in their mind. Your story will be in their mind. Reflect on key ideas and experiences that you share as an individual. And apart from that, know your audience, because you are trying to communicate your reader or audience with writing. So it's like the non-direct communication conversation. So think about their feelings. Describe what you are passionate about. Show your authentic self. Do not restate your resume, because the things has been your academic excellence, your grades, all you already include it in your CV. So it's not necessary to recite and restate all the uh, matters of CV in your writing or personal statement of purpose. So get feedback, allow other readers to read your writing and anticipate some suggestions, feedbacks, and improve in it. Likewise, make different draft. First draft, don't worry saying about within word limits, because it's your first draft. Make draft, refine it, reduce the word content to be confined in the particular word count, and reread it, and prize honesty and clarity above rhetorical flourishes. Think of every word that you have written in your documents. So if you don't and the ultimate thing is that write, rewrite, repeat it, and make second draft, make third draft, and refine it, and your documentation or personal statement, letter, statement, or propose will be refined. So if talking about your personal essay, it should be brief, forceful, and meaningful in expression, and it should respect your personality. Refrain from basing your essay with jargon, like different unfaithful or other claims, unproof, unproved claims. Hear from the other readers. So seek suggestions, seek feedbacks, and apply it and correct it. Finally, edit it, again edit it, and again edit it. So that will sharpen your words, that will refine your documents, and that will refine your writings. So if you take all these things, it's very difficult to apply all these things. So you need to practice it to make a very effective statement of purpose, because most of the scholarship, if you have enough grades, work experience, but uh, if your documents like uh, statement of purpose, they are not well written, then you will not be selected for those scholarships. So that's why these documents are also very critical things, or critical uh, points in selection criteria of scholarships. Talking about pharmacy practice in Australia, as I am residing here and we are all related to pharmacy, this is the extra slightly behind the extra matter. But if you are interested in practicing pharmacy in Australia and other developed countries, here's the roadmap. So there are two stream. So which is the stream A, it is basically applied for us like overseas trained pharmacists, like we have registered in our own respective country. If you want to practice here with your uh, degree in your country, so at the time, the first stage is that the Australian Pharmacy Council checks documents and provide outcome of eligibility assessment. The first is they assess your eligibility, whether you are eligible to practice pharmacy here or not. After that, the pharmacist register with APC to seek KAPS. You will have to give the knowledge, uh, attitude of pharmaceutical science, knowledge assessment of pharmaceutical science. That is the basic knowledge assessment. You have to give the preliminary examinations. You have to pass those examinations, KAPS. COAP is for stream B, like who are the graduate of UK, USA, and Canada or Ireland. So after passing if you are able to pass that primary examinations, then yeah, you will sit for that examination. And if you pass this examination, then Australian Pharmacy Council issues pharmacists with skill assessment eligibility letter. Then you are eligible for assessing your skills from your home country to Australia. And after that, the pharmacist may then apply for provisional registration. Only after passing the KAPS and eligibility assessment, then the uh, pharmacists or the candidates will apply for the provisional registration with Pharmacy Board of Australia. And the Pharmacy Board of Australia review the documentation process or applications, and if the candidate is successful, then the candidate will have to sit in the Pharmacy Council intern written examination. And after the examination, this examination is pretty tough, and which allows you to go for the internship. And if you pass this examination, if you pass the written examinations, then the candidate or the pharmacist sits into an oral examination with Pharmaceutical Board of Australia. And after, if you pass this examination, then you can apply for the general registration or internships. So it's a very long way to be registered here in Australia. You have to give a series of examinations, you have to do internships, and only after that you will be registered. So, but besides the practicing actual pharmacy practice, not only in Australia but in other developed countries, USA, UK, we have very high potential to apply in the research-based foundations. You will get your degree as well. You will be exposed to different research environments, and you will be successful in pursuing your higher studies in global scenario or competitive environment. Anyway, thank you for listening. So don't wait for the right opportunity, but create the opportunity. Don't wait for that. So act now. And for that, you need to be out of your comfort zone, because life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Don't feel, don't stay comfortably at your comfort zone. Always aim for higher, and seek advice from individuals. Make networks. Stay connected with all the uh, professionals, and the main important thing in this today's world is networking. So make network. So it's not only about social networking like Facebook and other things. Make LinkedIn profile which is bit professional, and read research articles. Make yourself interested in these things. Thank you for joining with me. Here are my details. You can join with me in these sites, in email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you have any questions, I don't know, we are able to discuss questions right now, because I think time is already finished, but you can contact with me personally. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening.
So this is the topic that I chose because it is really relevant in the present context of Nepal. So I don't know whether you'll find it important or not. So today's topic is brand name and generic medicines in the making in Nepal. So obviously there are the two types of medicines that are marketed in the market. One is the brand name, the another is the generic medicines. So there are some slight differences which we will know during the presentation. So the topic for discussion for today will be like for new drug development. There will be some different approach to drug development, whether the drug is brand name, and there will be obviously some slight difference when the drugs are generic version. And we also discuss about the product registration in Nepal, how the new products are registered with our medicine regulatory agency, and the prevailing laws that includes acts and all the regulation guidelines, bylaws that are relevant to our pharmaceutical sector. And there is some provision given in WHO GMP and national GMP, to which I think everybody are famous with. So we'll just talk about some relevance to our pharmaceutical industry here in Nepal. So this is so pharmaceuticals in Nepal. So how much has it? So I just like to explain a bit about the market of pharmaceutical products in Nepal. As per the market size is concerned, Nepal consumes almost 55 billion rupees worth of pharmaceuticals per annum. So this is not the huge size compared to India, of course, and other nations who invest much of their money in brand medicines and few in generic medicines also. However, our market size is 55 billion Nepalese rupees, so you can convert it to dollar or some Indian rupees as well. Out of these 55 billion, we are reliant more than half to India to import the total requirement of the pharmaceuticals in Nepal. So it accounts for 52%, while Nepali pharmaceutical companies are manufacturing 45% of the domestic requirement, and others that account like even we are importing from Bangladesh and some European countries, where we import some pharmaceuticals from multinational companies also that are residing abroad beyond India as well. So that accounts for 3%. As for the recent data, we can see that about 800 types of domestic 800 types of products are available currently in Nepal. And it's not the latest data, but you can see as per the data of October 4, 2018, 78 industries has been registered, and they all are generic manufacturers. The first one, of course, is Chemidrug Industries Private Limited, to which I am associated now. And it was established back in 1969, and it is way before the Drug Act actually that regulates the pharmaceutical industries was promulgated. And once we check the official websites of Nepalese Medicine Regulatory Agency, which we call DDA, Department of Drug Administration, 11,812 registered drugs are available here. And there are registered pharmacies. Pharmacy are 21,651 as per the current data. And you can see there are some importers as well, and some of the registered industries as well. So there are 78 industries. These industries explain the domestic industries, and 384 industries. It means that the product which we consume in Nepal that are manufactured abroad, the industries should also need to be registered with the DDA. So the count goes slightly higher, well beyond 78. So I just like to explain how drug discovery takes place. So I think most of you are familiar with these drug discovery processes as well. Anyway, I'll just like to summarize briefly. So the scientists, like our previous speaker, they do rigorous working in the laboratory, and they do all the testings, and they compile some of the molecules, some of the lead compounds which might have some pharmacological effect, and they screen those compounds in the lab. So it doesn't begin with the pharmaceutical industry. So these labs may also be sponsored by the drug manufacturers, or some of the sponsors, like some of the national agencies or some international donor agencies. Like we know that Gates Foundation, we know that Gates Foundation, which is also investing in research to find the way out for COVID-19 disease. So like the donors like Gates Foundation and other international donors or pharmaceutical industries, they regularly invest huge sum of money. Also, not to mention WHO, which also invests huge sum of money, billions of dollars money in the research, and that's how they go along with drug development process. And the first thing first, they begin with animal study, in which the main focus is to do the animal studies, is to first check the toxicity and some of the pharmacological activity, if they can simulate that in the mice model or some animal models. And if they get some success, they go some farther, and they choose some healthy volunteers to test the initially screened molecules. And if they find some safety substantial safety and some efficacy as well, then they go ahead with the trial. This is the clinical trial, and they ultimately end with the clinical trial in the patient as well. They test the drug in the target patient. So this time the number of patients will be significantly higher. If we speak in the current context of global pandemic of global COVID-19, in this context, the regulatory agencies, like as we speak, the regulatory agency of US, which is US FDA, which US FDA has recently exempted some of the toughest measure that one needs to follow during the drug discovery and going into the clinical trial. So they have chosen some fast track way to choose one of the selected compounds, to bring one compound out of all the selected or all the starting compounds, and they go on to formulate the medicine, the pharmaceuticals. Here, not to confuse that, the patients, they are lying in the bed, they are also getting the same version of the drug. So along the clinical trial, the patient will get the medicines in the same pharmaceutical unit. So they will get, if the drug is to be manufactured in form of tablets or capsules or injectables, or maybe sustained release drugs, or whatever type you discuss, they will administer the same dosage form into the patient during the clinical trial as well. And once out of all this trial, one will succeed. So this is the rigorous process, and it takes expertise, it takes huge investment and dedication as well. And it establishes itself as brand. So we call it brand because it has been chosen based on this rigorous process. And because it's a brand and it has invested a lot of money, lots of time and effort, it gains some exclusivity right, that we call it a patent right. So they got to exercise that patent exemption during that period. nobody will be able to manufacture the same drug in the country. So there are some international provisions, some treaty to which the countries are the signatories, and they oblige by the signatory terms and conditions, in which once the drug is during the period of exclusivity, then they will not market that drug in the generic form. So once the market exclusivity right expires, then comes the branded generics. We call them branded generics because they are not the brand, because even if we call like Nico, the paracetamol tablets Nico, then we call it brand, but it's not the branded one. They are the branded generics. We call it the branded generics. And our starting point is here, the branded generics. So we are nowhere to start during these phases. So we are yet to start with these phases. So we are at the very beginning of research and development in the developing countries such as Nepal, which is struggling to feed their population rather than investing in these research activities. So it is our misfortune that we are not being able to start with this, but we are doing this. So we are at the latter phase of drug development. So we are doing some branded generics, and our starting point is branded generics and not the brand name drugs. So is Nepal producing brand name medicines? So the answer probably is no, because we are not doing all the research, all the rigorous research works in Nepal. So these are the branded generics. We are doing branded generics, not the brand name drugs. I don't know, in case of India, I think they are practicing some of the brand name product as well, because it is also fortified with lots of multinational companies. So if some research activities are to be done in Nepal in order to manufacture the so-called brand name medicines, then what shall be the process? Here I quote the method given by the FDA. The new drug submission and how it works. How, if there are to be some research activities, then how shall we begin with the regulatory submission? So here's a quick link. So the first thing first, the first one we do is investigation new drug application. So we call it, we abbreviate it as IND. This application is done for first-hand drug. These are done for the compound that are being discovered for the very first time, or they are being considered for clinical trials for the very first time. So they go through the processes. The initial processing is called IND, investigation new drug. So IND application is submitted by the sponsor or manufacturer. So there could be some sponsor like Gates Foundation or some WHO agencies, or some even the manufacturers like Teva or some Pfizer or Hex, like this. These are the multinational companies which have huge resources to invest in research. So they can file documents like new investigation new drug application. And they need these documents, they need this application and these acceptance to go for the clinical trial, because investigation new drug only begins once they have done some sufficient trials in clinical basis, and they have gathered some useful data, some encouraging data they gather during the animal studies. Then they expect that they can go with the clinical trial, and they have to apply, because they have some chemical entity in one place, and they have to transfer the chemical entity or the formulated drug to different states across the US. So they have to get permission from the authority. For that, they submit IND, and once they submit IND, then they have to wait until 30 days to get the go-ahead signal from the regulatory authority. And during this period, the FDA will not do any research works or any clinical trials or any trials themselves. They will just go through the documents that are submitted. So it takes some short time to go through. And once they get acceptance for the clinical trial, and once they do the clinical trials, they do all the bioavailability testing or testings, and they come up with some substantial data and some promising data to suggest that the drug, the new molecules may indeed work in the target patient. Then they go for new drug application, and this is done for commercial purpose. Every new drug is subject of an approved NDA. This is new drug application before US commercialization. So they have to obtain the later new drug application. So this is the vehicle through which drug sponsors formally proposed that FDA approve a new pharmaceutical for sale and marketing in the US. So they need this. They have gone through the IND. They succeeded in that aspect as well. They succeeded in the clinical trial, and they go with the NDA, and they submit with NDA the clinical trial and the animal studies data. And the NDA shall convince the FDA, the authority, the regulatory, in terms of safety and effectiveness, and they should assure that benefit outweighs the risk. And when the existing there are some existing molecules for the target pharmacological activities, then they have to assure how their new compound is going to help to the patient rather than the existing molecule. Similar happened with the case of aspirin and paracetamol. And the paracetamol manufacturer, they claim that it doesn't do much of the gastric irritation that aspirin does. So in that way, they explained the justification of introducing paracetamol for the almost same pharmacological activity. And it should possess appropriate labels and adequacy is a manufacturing method. It should ensure that they have some adequate facilities to manufacture pharmaceutical product from, and also to test the quality of the drug in terms of strength, quality, purity, and identity. And thus NDA makes a comprehensive document, and it is reviewed by FDA's CDR, that is Center for Drug Evaluation and Center. This is one of the strongest bodies of FDA's among 6 bodies it holds. And CDR does limited tests. They do most of the reviewing task rather than doing the research as well. But they do some limited testing in the lab as well. Like they can go ahead with some dissolution testing or some assays or other impurity testing, or these things they can do it. And marketing license is issued upon review. If they consider that there is substantial data to prove that the proposed molecule is effective, the proposed dosage form is effective and convenient, then they can issue the marketing license. And since the molecule has been introduced for the very first time in the US, it gets the exclusivity patent right. Why so? Because it is the sole right given to the company to sell the drug in the US market. This is to recoup the massive investment, because they have invested huge sum of money, time, and effort. So they have to recoup the investment they have made during the long period of time. That is almost 12 to 15 years of long wait. So they gave this exclusivity right for marketing the proposed molecules. So if they are to avoid it with the exclusivity right or patent right, then we can see some shrinking research activities, because there is no profit in doing some novel work. So the market exclusivity right, or we can say in our context also, syndicate may be a better term that we understand. So they get the syndicative right that they exercise during this exclusivity period. So a copy of the brand name generic. So once the exclusivity period nears expiration, the exclusivity period ranges from months to years. So once it expires, then only the companies can apply for generic version of the drugs. And a copy of the brand name, we call that only generic version. It must have same quality, same safety, strength, and route of administration that they are copying from the brand name products. So these are the few of the attributes and the most essential attributes that one should have to manufacture the generic version of any brand name drugs. A generic drug, however, can have different color, shape, or size. So this is the requirement. And the next one is ANDA, ANDA. So this is not egg, but this ANDA is abbreviated NDA, new drug application, is for generic drug product. So this is for generic drug product. And this is for the industries that was before the expiration of market exclusivity period, manufacturing the same brand name drugs. So they get, the same company gets the right, if they get the right to produce the generic version, then they have to do it in the form of abbreviated NDA, because it's their right, because they have invested in the research, so they get the right in the form of abbreviated new drug application. Others will get generic version, like if Pfizer has invested some molecule, then Pfizer gets the right to apply through ANDA procedure. But if Teva wants to do the same, then they have to apply through generic application procedure. So this ANDA is for the original manufacturer. So once ANDA is approved, an applicant may manufacture and market the generic drug product to provide safe, effective, and lower cost. This is the prime objective, lower cost, because as you see the data per annum, once they switch from brand name drug to generic version, it saves 150, hoping 150 billion US dollar per year. So this is a huge sum of money that they can invest in other sectors rather than boosting some pharmaceutical industries after the expiration period of exemption. So it saves also money. So in the US market, you can see different drug products. There are some brands. These are the brand name drugs. The different is the generic drugs, and the next one is authorized generics. So these are in practice here in Nepal. I'm not sure whether we are practicing most of the brand name drugs. We are practicing generics. Even they possess some brand name. These are not the brand name drugs. These are the brands. The brand names, not the brand name. So there is some slight difference in literal terms. So these are the Nepalese products are the brand. Their company's particular brand, but not the brand name drugs. So these all are the generic version, and we call them in proper term branded generics. So then we are marketing branded generics to a larger extent, and maybe we also have some brands because some of the patients go to visit Europe or US to get some treatment, and they will probably prescribe them with some branded drugs, and they carry those prescription, and they continue with those medications. Even they are still in Nepal, they are just importing those medicines from abroad. So I think also some of them are buying some brand name drugs, and majority others in US also 80% of them are buying the branded generics version and not the brand. 20% are practicing brands in US. So there are some varying time limit for the market exclusivity. So we can see it's a period of time when a brand name drug is protected from generic drug competition. It's a brand name drug. The originator is protected by the US regulation from the market competition. So when the new chemical entity has been discovered and gone on to become a pharmaceutical dosage form, then it gains the market exclusivity right of 5 years up to. And when there is some new clinical investigation, then the market exclusivity will be as long as 3 years. Here, interesting is in terms of like if hydroxychloroquine, we know that it is a common medicines used in malaria. So if there was some data to suggest that hydroxychloroquine, as per the president of United States, hydroxychloroquine could actually work in favor of COVID-19 patient, then we call it the new clinical investigation, because it was originally being used for malaria patients, and now it has also some additional benefits in COVID-19 patients. Then if somebody is to find it out for the very first time, the next pharmacological activity of the existing molecule, then they will have market exclusivity right slightly shorter, that is 3 years market exclusivity. And there are some orphan drugs too. There is a very small market size. Then to give credit to the investor, the market exclusivity right is higher to their credit. And in case of pediatric drug exclusivity, it is only 6 months, because there is some sentiment, and there is some issues like the ethical issues, like the children's may be deprived of medicines because of lying under the poverty line. So to prevent that happening, the market exclusivity right for the pediatric dosage form is limited, only 6 months. So after exclusivity is no longer block generic approval, generics can join the market. So there is some difference in the brand and generic. So generic and brand, if we see in this picture, it has some same quality and performance, but there are some difference. You can see maybe some color difference, maybe some size difference, appearance difference, but the route of administration should be the same. So there could be some different physical attributes rather than its effect. So this graph explains the exact difference between brand and generics. The chemistry is same because the molecule is same, the dosage form is same, the unit of drug is also same, the manufacturing process is same because the dosage form is same, And the labeling, it also poses the same labeling, because the same dose is being used, same drug molecule is being used. It should have poses the same precautionary suggestion to the patient. And testing also, it should also go through the same rigorous testing. But brand name goes through, there's some of the testing steps, like animal studies, they go through clinical studies, and they go through the bioavailability. But what generics have to do is they just need to do bioequivalence, and it saves time, it saves money, it saves investment. That's why they can go ahead with the generic version of the drug slightly quicker and substantially quicker. And the bioequivalence, so they have to prove the bioequivalence. What we mean is that a generic drug is considered to be bioequivalent to the brand name drug. So the brand name drug can only be replaced by the generic version in case when the rate and extent of absorption do not show a significant difference from the listed drugs. The listed drug is brand name drugs, and the extent of absorption does not show a significant difference. And any difference, if there any exists, any difference should not be pharmacologically or medically significant in terms of clinical practice. So only then the drugs can be considered bioequivalent, and they can substitute the brand name drugs. Also, there are some issues exist whether the generic version can be switched unanimously or unilaterally, because some of the patients, because once some different manufacturers or generic manufacturer produce a different version of generic of copying the brand name, then they can have some color, they can add different color to make them look slightly different, and some of the patients may have some reaction to color, so the precautions should be taken in the cases like that. So this graph explains how it works, bioequivalent testing. So in the bioequivalent, you can see that the test drug or the generic drug and the reference or brand drug, there insignificant difference in drug absorption or plasma level of the drug. And when the difference is insignificant, we call them bioequivalent. The generic version is bioequivalent with respect to the reference or brand name drug, and it is inequivalent when there is some substantial or significant difference while comparing with the brand name drugs. So, and there are some exempting points to which we should not be worrying about the bioequivalence, like you can consider injectable products, because it is going into the plasma straight away. So there are some exceptions to which we may not need to do bioequivalent test. So brand name drugs. So Tylenol. So Tylenol is acetaminophen. Tylenol is the brand name drug. So it is not the brand. I'm not talking about the brand. It's the brand name drug. Tylenol first brought acetaminophen into the market. Acetaminophen is paracetamol. It brought into the market. So acetaminophen is the generic name, but Tylenol is the brand name drug. It was manufactured by McNeil Consumer Healthcare. McNeil Consumer Healthcare is the subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson Healthcare as of now, because Johnson & Johnson acquired McNeil later on. And paracetamol was discovered in 1877 AD, and Tylenol was approved by FDA back in 1955. So during this long period, when McNeil Consumer Healthcare had to compete with aspirin, it came up with Tylenol to give some advantageous molecules in the form of acetaminophen, and it got FDA approval late in 1955. So there are some top generic manufacturers which collect huge revenue annually. And there is an interesting fact, like there are out of top 5 generic manufacturers, 2 are Indians. Sun Pharmaceuticals of India, it has the gross revenue per annum of 4 billion, and Lupin Pharmaceuticals, it has 2.3 billion per annum as a revenue. And it's interesting to know that India is one of the largest manufacturer of generic medicines. India supplies a huge proportion of generic version to US market, It also supplies 0% to the UK market. But India itself isn't reliant. It's not self-reliant in pharmaceuticals, because it has to rely up to 80% to China to import the active pharmaceutical ingredients it needs to manufacture generic drugs. It supplies to US and the UK. So in a way, in an entangling global world, we may be independent, yet we have some interdependency in this scenario. So it's good to as a consumer here in Nepal, that our neighbor is engaged in huge generic manufacturing. That's why we are also getting some generic version in cheaper prices. So I'd like to switch your attention to in Nepal's engagement in some branded generics. So here I reiterate, it is not the brand name, so it is the branded generic. So Nepal's engagement in it. So what we do is, as we are practicing pharmaceutics in the latter phase of drug discovery or drug development, we do it with formulation and testing in the lab setting. We call it R&D lab or some formulation and development lab. And we begin with formulation and testing, taking some few of the molecules, or the molecules of market interest, or the molecules of some commercial interest, and we do some R&D batches. And we go on with the R&D batches, and we do some stability testing. We do it up to 3 months. So R&D batches should continue on with stability studies up to 3 months. And once we are assured that the product is stable in the stability condition, then we go for DDA submission. DDA is the Medicine Regulatory Agency of Nepal, Department of Drug Administration. So we have to go some regulatory submission to DDA for product license. Product license is manufacturing license. So once we submit manufacturing license, the drug is still in the chamber, in the stability chamber. So the period just goes on elapsing. So we can do the stability testing, and we can do it up to at least 6 months. And during that period, DDA is also reviewing the documents submitted by the industry. And there is some issuance of product license. The product license is a token of acceptance to let them manufacture the drugs or the pharmaceutical dosage form. And the target company, the applicant company, will come out with commercial batch. And once they come out with the commercial batch, then they begin submitting for marketing license application. And for marketing license, they submit the initial batch, the exact batch they have manufactured, like 1 to 2 boxes if it is strips or blisters, or 5 bottles if it is in the liquid dosage form, or 5 tubes if it is in semi-solid dosage form. They take the physical samples, they take all the documents, they take all the stability reports they have done up to 6 months, like they have done the accelerated stability testing and real-time stability studies up to 6 months. They have to submit the report with the proposed shelf life to the regulatory agency, and the regulatory agency does all the equipment, does all the submission reviews, and they also review the documents submitted by the third-party lab, because once the product is being launched for the first time by the company, then they have to get the product tested by independent third-party labs. So regulatory agency will independently analyze the products through the third-party analysis reports, and also based on the submission made by the individual company. And they tally the documents submitted by the third-party lab and the company, and then they will come out with the conclusion. And if they find it that there is sufficient ground to believe that the product is being manufactured as per the manufacturing license granted and as per the principle stipulated by WHO GMP or the national GMP, then they issue the marketing license. There is some mistakes, there's manufacturing license, but it should be marketing license. They issue some marketing license for sale and distribution, and then the company manufactures the drug, and the drugs goes to the customer. So these analyses, so the next one is, can Nepal be self-reliant in pharmaceuticals? Can we be self-reliant? These analyses are done only as per pharmacopoeia, even for the first time submission. So our testing parameters is limited to pharmacopoeial testing. And pharmacopoeial testing may not guarantee bioequivalence, because these testings may not always guarantee may not, is it can guarantee some of the in vitro testing can also guarantee bioequivalence for a few of the dosage forms, but not all of the in vitro testing or not all of the laboratory testing or the test done as per pharmacopoeial testing guarantee bioequivalence. So it may not be the comprehensive analysis protocol. So provision of bioequivalence testing requirement has only been introduced. The Nepalese regulatory agency realized that, because since others are going through research and development, a rigorous process, and going for the new drug submission and doing some research in novel products, then and we are lagging farther behind, and we are releasing some drugs based on some pharmacopoeial testing, and regulatory is also accepting that as of now. And also, if we balance or bioequivalence testing, then there will be substantial cost added to the product, and that will have to be bore only by the customers. So the purchasing power of the customers is not that high. So that might be the thing that regulatory is also considering in one hand, because it will substantially increase the price of the medicines, and also there are some of the generic version of the medicines, and they have also put some price capping into the pharmaceutical products. And if they also strongly enforce the requirement for bioequivalence testing, then it's highly unlikely that the pharmaceutical industry can actually manufacture the products that can stay within the purview of DDA, and they can also manufacture profitably by staying in the cap limit. So it is highly unlikely. And the price capping is my personal opinion. The price capping may also disregard the investment in the research, because if we look paracetamol tablets, and if the paracetamol tablets, if through price capping you have to sell it not beyond ₹1, then you are unlikely to manufacture paracetamol. That's why there are only limited manufacturers of paracetamol, and we repeatedly say there is a lack of paracetamol tablets, and it is also not reaching the remotest village of Nepal. And the other sad part is the price capping. If there is substantial benefit in manufacturing paracetamol, then every company will be manufacturing paracetamol. So in a way, the price capping may also hinder research and innovation and some investment in few of the molecules. And there are some prevailing laws in Nepal with regard to pharmaceutical industries or pharmacy practices in Nepal. And it all originated with Drug Act that was promulgated back in 2035, and there is a provision in section number 40 of Drug Act, which states that power to frame rule. The title is power to frame rule, and this is the strongest point, I think, in Drug Act, because it opens the door for new regulation. It opens the door for new courts to come into effect, and it opens the door for new guidance to come into effect, which are required and which are the need of an hour as we go with innovation. So on this ground, there are different rules were made, and only recently, the rules of our interest is National GMP Course 2072. It was promulgated back 4 years back, and the next important document is Medicine Registration Guidance. Both of these the guidance document and course have been prepared under the provision given by Drug Registration Rules, Section 10 of Drug Registration Rules 2038. There is some, I have highlighted some of the words like rules and course and guidance. There is some interesting things about these things, because rules are something that one should follow, and rules is something that there will be some regulatory hearing. Then you can file a petition in the court, and there will be some regulatory hearing when you go with or against the rules. When you go with and against the course, there is some regulatory heading. But guidance document, this is strategically important. A guidance document, these are the suggestive document. The documents that are issued by WHO, these are the guidance document, and it does not come under the purview of any regulatory agencies. So these are the guidance document to which there is no any court hearing. There is no any petition. You cannot file petition against the guidance document. So strategically, they have given the term guidance to the medicine registration guidance, because it is a tough document to follow, and it's a tough capsule to swallow for the pharmaceutical industries of Nepal. So Nepal imports almost all the raw materials and packing materials from overseas. They are mostly imported from India, from China, from Europe, and as far as Australia. And there is we call it duty free, but actually it's not duty free. We call it they have imposed, the regulatory have imposed 1% duty charge on importation of raw materials, packing materials, and machines that are targeted for pharmaceutical industries. And that's how the patients and that's how the Nepalese customers are benefiting from this, because the price of medicine has been brought down due to these provisions, and we don't have to empty our pockets to buy all the medicines all the time. However, there is full duty on some of the expensive reagents. So this is the another part. This is a sad part of pharmaceutical industries, like some related substances, some impurities, which cost some even some $100, some ranging up to $400 or $500 per vial, and there is some duty charge levied onto it. And Nepal is distant away from developing new drugs, because our market is very small compared to India, which is home to 1.3 billion people, China, which is home to 1.6 billion, 1.4 billion people almost. So our customer size is very small, and we are lagging far behind the generic producers. We are lagging far behind the brand name producers. So huge investment is not guaranteed with outcome or revenue generation. So there is some confusion going on there. And Nepal and the existing industries are prompting science innovation. However, it's a bright point that there are some industries, there are some innovation going on. They do some the very ground level of research. Anyway, they do it, even they cannot proceed with doing some new investment into the molecules. And it's my personal feeling that in order to reduce the price of pharmaceutical industries operation, and in order to reduce the cost of medicine, one of the ideas could be to develop a special economic zone. We call it SEZ zone. It can cut the cost. For example, if we are establishing a pharmaceutical industry as far as into Darsula district of Nepal, and compare that with the industry that is operating in the plain belt of Nepal, that is operating in Kathmandu, which houses the international airport. So for example, if you are coating some tablets and suddenly there is a problem in a sprayer, then you need some valves. So you have to change the valves. You have to need new valves, and you have to go all the way to Kathmandu. You have to move all the way, or you have to procure it all the way from Kathmandu, or procure it all the way from the Tarai belt, and it takes some time, and your batch is deteriorating, or your batch is under serious problem, and that is your investment, and that you are likely to get nothing out of it. So but take, for example, if you are setting some technology, if you are operating different industries in a common zone, then, for example, if you have some problem of coating, then you can rely on the industries that is nearby. Then you can do some technical sharing, you can some expertise sharing. So a special economic zone can help reduce the cost. In Nepal as well, in the global term as well, I think India is practicing recently special economic zone. I don't know exactly if they have established or they have come up with a special economic zone provision, or, but there exists some idea and there exists some debate of establishing special economic zone. In the global world, interreliance is inevitable, because you cannot build everything yourself, from starting material to finished products, and feed your customers and provide your customers. So in the ideal world, it's not possible. And manufacturing, how we do is we do manufacturing after we get some regulatory approval, and there are some sets of criteria that we have to follow. There's some approved methods we have to follow during manufacturing, and there will be some sophisticated facilities like HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, and water treatment plant, because if we follow Indian pharmacopoeia, British pharmacopoeia, or international pharmacopoeia, there is some provision stipulated for the requirement of water that is to be used for manufacturing pharmaceuticals, and there are some separate criteria if you are manufacturing some injectable products. So water treatment plant has to be in place to comply with the existing guidelines, and it should follow some approved procedure, and in our term, that is GMP, good manufacturing practice. And quality control, the another important aspect of pharmaceutical industries operating in Nepal is quality control. It conforms by testing APIs and excipients, packing materials, pharmaceutical products, finished dosage forms, and also the stability testing. Stability testing, we need to do it during the time of regulatory submission, and we also have to do it, and we have to go along our commercial product. We call it ongoing stability testing, because once you get the acceptance from the regulatory to go ahead with sales and distribution of the products, then you have to continue on with doing the stability testing of at least one batch per year of particular product, because you need to assure that, because you are following the same procedure, you are manufacturing the same products, you are manufacturing under the same facility, using the same sets of raw materials and finished products, packaging materials, then it is almost expected that the products will be of same quality. However, to assure that, to give confidence into yourself, that stability testing should be done at least one batch per annum per product. That we call it ongoing stability, and the QC is also engaged in that as well. But the QC test is done in compliance to approved pharmacopoeia and approved schedule that is provided by Quality Assurance Department. And procedure, we call it, the procedure is called not exactly the GLP. We commonly call it GLP, but it is not exactly GLP. It is good practice for pharmaceutical QC laboratories. That is provisioned by WHO. The guidelines, we can quote the WHO guidelines to be followed during establishing QC testing labs or doing QC practices. And there are some accepted pharmacopoeia in Nepal. International Pharmacopoeia, which is issued by WHO, of course, and some European Pharmacopoeia, Indian Pharmacopoeia, British Pharmacopoeia, the United States Pharmacopoeia, and Japanese Pharmacopoeia, and a few others not to mention. And there is some advantage for us to follow the Indian Pharmacopoeia. Indian Pharmacopoeia is vastly based on British Pharmacopoeia, if you go through those pharmacopoeia. So one advantage for us to follow Indian Pharmacopoeia is that because we are reliant on India to import chemicals, to import the packaging materials. So if we are following Indian Pharmacopoeia, then most likely the Indians are following the Indian Pharmacopoeia. So there will not be any regulatory hurdles during product claiming or raw material claiming in terms of pharmacopoeial standardization. And the another advantage is that the IP Indian Pharmacopoeia is revised apart from some amendments, which comes midway as well. It is updated every 4 years. So if you are complying, if you are claiming your product is IP, then at least you are safe for 4 years. So Indian Pharmacopoeia is better for us to follow. But there is some hiccup point. Although there is provision to prepare Nepalese pharmacopoeia, the preparation is still gathering some dust in our regulatory cupboards. So it has also not materialized, and we are a long way of making our own pharmacopoeia, because it draws huge investment, time, money, effort, and the government prioritization, and which all of these aspects were lacking as of now for the pharmaceutical sector. So we are distant away from that as well. Hopefully we can have it in near future. And these are the products then our students will be particularly interested upon. So the product has been analyzed referring to Indian Pharmacopoeia. You can see it, azithromycin tablets IP. So this means that this is the azithromycin tablets of dose 500 mg, and the finished product has been analyzed as per the monograph of Indian Pharmacopoeia. So our students, if they see the products like this in the market, then they have to see like it only tells you about the analysis that has been done following the particular monograph of a particular pharmacopoeia. And here in this case, there is no any IP, BP or USP. There is paracetamol, diclofenac, sodium, and serratiopeptidase tablets, and doesn't include any IP, BP, USP at the latter phase of the name. And it suggests that the product is analyzed as per in-house method. So in-house method is done when there is the monograph doesn't state any analysis method for the combination like this. So generally we see in terms of combination product, the provisions like this are existing there. So product stability testing in Nepal, how we do is we do two types, accelerated testing and real-time testing. Both of them one has to done. And there is a slightly different condition, a very slightly different condition, accelerated by its name itself. It is to suggest, it is to give you the data in the quick time. So somebody's mic, I think, opening. I can hear some mic opening. So please, would you please mute that? Our host, please suggest them to stop their mics. Okay. So the temperature condition for the accelerated condition is 40 degrees centigrade, which is stressful condition as we compare with the real-time testing condition, that is 30 degree plus minus 2, and for accelerated time condition, that is 40 plus minus 2, while the humidity condition is same for both of the cases. And the frequency for accelerated testing will be 0, 3, and 6 months, and we do it until only 6 months, unless there is some exception. And for real-time testing, you have to do in the format of 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, 24, 36 months, or up to the period that you propose your shelf-life. It suggests that for the first year of the drug being manufactured, the stability testing shall be done 4 times a year. For the second year, it has to be done 2 times a year. And for the third year onwards, you have to do it once every year. And we are following these parameters because of WHO's placement of Nepal in the climatic zone 4B of the global world. And it is interesting to know that climatic 4 zone suggests the region is hot and humid, even though we are living in a diverse environmental condition. When you can see some there's some snowing in the as far as up to the height of 5,000 meters from the sea level, and also there is some area that is as high as 60 meters from the sea level. So there are some hot and humid area currently as of now I'm speaking, and there are some places where there are some alpine zones in Nepal as well, but they have grossly classified Nepal as hot and humid zone. And strategically it is important because India has also been placed under the same climatic zone, so it allows us easy trade with India to procure some medicines from India, to import some generic version from India. Because if our climatic zone condition is different, then we have to ask India to market their products in Nepal to do the stability testing as per our need. So this allows the strategic placement of Nepal and India together in the climatic 4 zone by WHO allows us the trade with India. Stability testing, it confirms the product. The company can adequately produce and supply consistent batches of the product throughout its manufacturing period. And testing shows how product varies with under the influence of temperature and humidity. There are some sensitivity testing to light done as well, but we are not doing those sensitivity testing. Testing may show possibility of API excipient interaction as well. Once you place the product which is expected to be 100% assay, then you come and the product come out 80%, then there might be some chances of API or excipient interaction as well. And it can validate the container closure system and packaging materials as well. The stability test report submitted during the marketing license application does not end the process there, and you have to go on with ongoing stability testing. So does QC test parameter guarantee success? Here I have simulated the testing of QC with the trial that is done in a limited sets of activities. So can one guarantee that if one is able to pass through these testing parameters, can one actually go on and ride on the highway in the speed of 80 kilometers per hour? The answer is probably no. So quality guaranteed by QC testing alone is based on limited set of tests. So there exists another department, or there exists another supervision that is called quality assurance, and it guarantees that if one can speed and one can honk in the highway. So QA is a crucial department and is a crucial person of drug manufacturer here in Nepal. Quality assurance ensures products are manufactured in strict compliance, and this is strict compliance is with respect to GMP. GMP ensures aspects including and beyond that covered by QC test, because QC testing parameters is limited testing parameters. So once you go with the GMP principle, it was the idea coined back in 1967 when it was submitted to the World Health Assembly in the first draft, and in the subsequent committee it was accepted. The draft was accepted and it was published as an annex in 1968. And in 1969, the World Health Assembly moved off for the certification, because once there is no criteria, there is no provision for certification, then one is highly unlikely to follow the rules given by the GMP. So there are some GMP requirements which are hygiene, avoidance of cross-contamination, the documentation practice, well-trained operators, and these all are the basic things that industry has to follow to ensure consistent quality. But if a drug has passed all the specification tests, but was found to have been manufactured in a facility that violates GMP, for example, if the drug has passed assay testing, dissolution testing, fiability testing, or all the testing that is required by the monograph, but it was found to have been manufactured in a facility that violates GMP, it means that we don't know if the product has been manufactured by the water that was not released by the QC, or it was being manufactured in the facility without AHU or SVAC operating. So the operation of SVAC or not doesn't make any difference in the analysis of QC. So it is non-comprehensive parameter, but it has violated GMP because it should have been manufactured in the facility as stipulated by the GMP, that is with the provision of SVAC. So it is adulteration. So sticking to the GMP norms is mandatory. So in Nepal's GMP requirement, the concept was first materialized in 2004 AD, and though it was not made mandatory, it was made only mandatory in 2073 with the promulgation of national GMP. And the Department of Drug Administration is the medicine regulatory agency acting in Nepal, and it oversees all the GMP implementation in Nepal. It grants certificate upon audit to the applicant company, and the validity lies for only 2 years. And there are some different provision given by the national GMP compared to the provision that is given by the WHO GMP. Few of the concepts that I have highlighted here is in Nepali that requires that QA in charge should be the graduate in pharmacy and should have some experience, and chemist cannot be a QA in charge of any pharmaceutical industry. Production in charge should also be pharmacist, and other faculty member cannot be production in charge. And QA, while the QC in charge can be the chemist can be the QC in charge, or the pharmacist likewise. And the new provision that has been registered here in Nepal is by evaluability by equivalence testing requirement, and some BioVir. So some of the molecules, they should not go through the rigorous bioavailability or bioequivalence testing. And for some of the molecules, like if it is fast releasing drug, or if it is for a locally applicable drug, then it may not have to go through bioavailability and bioequivalence testing as per Nepalese regulatory agency, because that is also that complicates issues further. And there are some exemption to the molecules to which bioavailability testing may not be deemed necessary, and it is based on the biopharmaceutical classification. There are class 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are based on permeability and high solubility, and the class 1 drug generally do not need to go through the pharmaceutical the bioequivalence testing, but while others should be considered for the bioequivalence testing. As far as Nepal's preparation is concerned, the DDA has done some MOU with the Maharajganj Teaching Hospital to do some bioequivalence testing lab. While the process is still ongoing, we are not guaranteed when it will actually materialize, but a long way to go. So we are going step by step. So actually, it's my last slide. So we are going step by step. Regulatory is taking a leap because they are the guiding body. So they are not the following body. We are the following. The pharmaceutical industries are the following. They are the guiding body. So they are taking a leap, and we have to follow them. And if they don't take leap, if they are stagnant, then industries will also remain stagnant. It will not, in a way, aid an innovation. So they should take leap, and they are taking leaps, and we are following them. And some have the head start in Nepal. There are, as I told you, 78 registered industries in Nepal, and some have a head start, like NHC or Quest or NPL. They already have a head start. Others are struggling as well, and some had to come to fore because they are still yet to get registered, while they have already done some of the preparatory works. But we can be independent with interdependence in the global village. As I told you, we are only 48% self-sufficient in pharmaceutical products, but we are relying 53% or hoping 53% to India to import drugs. So we can simply import more active ingredients or more excipients from the India that is being more reliant at. We can be independent in producing the generic version. So in the global world, this may be the ideal one. A big investment is what it requires to take a giant step towards brand manufacturing or the brand name manufacturing. So we are yet to reach that target. So there are some of the references, and I'd like to end my presentation here. Thank you.